For what reason did the Egyptians transform their dead into mummies and bury their pharaohs in enormous burial places? How did celebrated film figures like the Scorpion King and Imhotep cut their names ever? Realities of the soonest long periods of Egypt are discovered distinctly on deficient shards and in endured burial places. However, what we do know reveals to us a staggering story. 10. The birth of the Sahara Desert. 8,000 years prior, the Sahara was fruitful and green. Ranchers delivered grains and millets in harmony until, much to their dismay, gravitational impacts from the close planetary system changed the Earth's tilt by 1 degree, making a surge of daylight forever hit the Sahara. Instantly, it transformed into a singing desert, extending, leaving dead yields afterward, pursuing the ranchers to the oases where they became abandoned like wrecked survivors. Many looked for asylum in the Nile, a strong waterway that the Sahara could an endless supply of its normal flooding. For the overcomers of the Sahara, the Nile was no heaven. High floods crushed their settlements. However, soon the Egyptians had the option to foresee the flooding by watching the star Sirius way during that time sky. At the point when the rising waters retreated, the land abandoned was rich gratitude to silt in the water. Sorting out their lives around the flooding of the Nile, the old Egyptians separated their year into 3 seasons: the immersion, the development, and the reap. 9. The Scorpion King. The old Egyptians built up 2 primary realms around 3400 BC. The Lower Kingdom at the northern mouth of the Nile, called Lower in light of the fact that the Nile streams down from the south, and the Upper Kingdom in the southern desert lands. During this time, a ruler from the Upper Kingdom emerged whose name was referred to just as Scorpion. He attacked and vanquished, his intent to join all the grounds of antiquated Egypt. The individuals built up a rough type of setting up, and it was utilized to account the Scorpion King's endeavors. This type of composing would before long develop into what we know today as symbolic representations, the composed language of antiquated Egypt. Be that as it may, the Scorpion King kicked the bucket before he could achieve his objective. The 2 realms remain separate. Facts about the Scorpion King's life are uncommon archaeological finds. A stone help that bears his name is perhaps the most established writing in human presence. Archaeologists have found a divided imperial mace head ascribed to the Scorpion King. What's more, they have seen what many accept as his burial place in Abydos, containing relics recorded with a portion of Egypt's most punctual known composition. There may have been more signs inside, however we may never know. Fortune trackers had looted the burial chamber some time in the past. 8. The Divine King invents luxury. 100 years after the Scorpion King had fizzled, another succeeded. From the Upper Kingdom city of Hyrcanpolis came a man named Meanies. First he vanquished his neighbors, at that point he walked on Lower Egypt and joined the 2 terrains, and afterward he walked on brute swarms and extended the fringes of his new realm. He fixed the unification by wedding a Lower Egyptian princess. Under Meanies, the land found a sense of contentment. He established the capital, Memphis, by building an embankment in the Nile and recovering the marshland. He got away from crazy dogs by bouncing on the rear of a crocodile and riding it to another shore, where he established the city of Crocodilopolis. Meanies' kin, their carries on with liberated from significant concerns, created sports, chiseling, carpentry, and even figured out how to mix lager. Egypt turned into a place that is known for lavishness. The Roman student of history Diodorus Siculus asserted that Meanies developed the idea of extravagance. Following 62 years of thriving, Meanies met a brutal end when he was bitten to death by a hippopotamus. 7. Egypt's oldest mystery. On the off chance that you ponder Meanies may sound somewhat like the overstated adventures of the most interesting man in the world, history specialists concur. Nobody yet has found any contemporary proof of Meanies' presence. The entirety of his accounts originate from later ever, persuading he is a fictionalized society saint, or that Meanies is a privileged title given to numerous individual rulers. The name significance of Meanies is, he who endures. 7. Meanies' actual character is one of the incredible secrets in Egyptian history. The common hypothesis is that he was really Narmer, 8. The primary recorded lord of the first dynasty, or his replacement Hor-Aha, or both. Hor-Aha might be Meanies in light of the fact that there are numerous symbolic representations that partner the names of the two. In any case, archaeologists have found the Tablet of Narmer, a stone help with numerous obscure suggestions to Narmer's conceivable way of life as Meanies. Most telling is that the front of the palette shows Narmer wearing the red crown of Lower Egypt while on the back he is wearing the white crown of Upper Egypt. The crown of the pharaohs would proceed to be a mix of these two crowns. Numerous Egyptologists accept this suggests Narmer was the unifier of antiquated Egypt, and along these lines King Meanies. 6. Mummies. Prior to 3500 BC, the Egyptians covered their dead in shallow graves. The dryness of the sand, the warmth of the day and the cold of the night, and the absence of air in the grave dried out the body, making it be normally saved. The old Egyptians built up the conviction that the spirit would come back to its body after death, yet in the event that the spirit couldn't perceive its body as a result of rot, the spirit would get lost. They started helping the common protection process by getting dried out bodies with daylight or fire, and by relieving the substance with smoke. 5. Mastabas. Strict convictions and the fixation on existence in the wake of death thrived under Hor-Aha. The sort of burial chamber he worked for himself was known as a mastaba, which appears as though the lower level of a pyramid without different levels stacked on top. Envision a pyramid cut off after the subsequent advance. Be that as it may, bodies not put away in the parched sand were isolated from the normal safeguarding process. Since the lords despite everything needed to be covered safely with their assets, this drove the old Egyptians to create preservation methods so their bodies would not decay away in their extravagant burial places. 4. The earliest known female ruler. At the point when the first dynasty sovereign Meanies' better half passed on around 2990 BC, her child Den was made lord. Nook was too youthful to even think about ruling viably, thus Meanies governed as sovereign official, making her the primary female ruler in written history. How long Meanies' rule kept going is obscure. Sanctum's rule crossed 50 years, and during that time Egypt extended militarily and financially, to such an extent that Den is respected the best pharaoh of the first dynasty. In any case, what amount of that can be credited to his mom? It is difficult to know for certain, yet what we can be sure of is that Meanies' burial chamber was as extravagant as any ruler, which was not average of a sovereign mother. Buried with her were 40 workers, yielded creatures, and even a sun-oriented pontoon. Such pontoons were amassed inside burial places so mummies could utilize them to cruise in the sky with Ra, the Egyptian divine force of the sun. 3. Free women. While antiquated Egyptian spouses would in general deal with the home, there were no limitations that shielded ladies from seeking after a free way of life. Any lady that picked a profession would get equivalent compensation for equivalent work. Ladies oversaw homesteads or organizations, worked in the fields, or as weavers, caretakers, entertainers. There were no known wedding functions in Old Egypt. The spouse essentially moved into a home with the husband and they were viewed as hitched, like the present custom-based law relationship. The spouse could separate by moving go into her folks' home, so, all in all she would be allowed to remarry. A lady's capacity to conceive an offspring was viewed as more significant than her virginity, so she had the option to get hitched and separated from various occasions, and single individuals were allowed to have intercourse before marriage. Although the genders were nearer to uniformity in antiquated Egypt than they would be in numerous civic establishments to follow, things were not great. Ladies were rebuffed more cruelly than men in the wake of submitting adultery. 15. A two-faced man was constrained into a separation, however the lady was accepted to get disciplines as outrageous as execution. 2. The Dark Dynasty. Egypt kept on flourishing under the rules of the rulers who followed Meanies. The first dynasty finished when the two likely beneficiaries of King Ka squabbled for the seat. The subtleties are lost to history, however what is known is that an outsider mediated and guaranteed the seat for himself, starting another regal line. Little is known about the second dynasty of Egypt since records of the time were inadequately kept, have not been found, or were destroyed. The scanty records do reveal to us that it was a tumultuous and abnormal time of Egyptian history. Customarily the lords had adjusted themselves to Horus, the god who in the fantasies had become ruler of all Egypt. Be that as it may, one ruler aligned himself with Seth, the lord of the desert and bearer of mayhem. 1. Imhotep. The third dynasty started with King Djoser in 2670 BC, whose comely rule considered the structure of numerous landmarks. An average citizen by the name of Imhotep rose through the positions to turn into Djoser's most confided and consultant. Imhotep was probably the sharpest individuals in mankind's history, and was both a specialist and a planner. He wrote a clinical papyrus without mysterious reasoning that contained down-to-earth fixes and medical procedures, just as depicted life structures and afflictions. He was the principal draftsman to concoct utilizing bolster sections for building, and he planned the first since forever pyramid. The burial place of Djoser introduced the age of the pyramid manufacturers, otherwise called the Old Kingdom. In the ages to follow, Imhotep was loved as a divine force of recuperating and astuteness. If you liked the video, do not forget to subscribe and like. Thanks for watching.